This presentation is for women only and is a work of the Durham Church of Christ. For more information, visit durhamcoc.com.
Hello, and thank you for watching The Modern Day Phoebe. I'm honored to be here with Miss JoAnn Williams, and my husband and I are blessed to be able to worship with her son and her daughter-in-law and their newest addition, granddaughter. And so we have become good friends, and I'm very thankful for that friendship. And one of the reasons that I wanted to interview Miss JoAnn was her great attitude. And I can see that through Mike. Her son has taught class several times at Durham, and he mentions her a lot. I don't know if you know that, but he mentions her and things that she has said or things that she has done or how he was raised. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to meet this woman. She sounds like a good woman who's trying to do things for the Lord. And so, again, I'm honored to be here with you today. And I first just want to start off by asking you just how you became a Christian and how long you've been one.
Actually, I was in school at ECU in Greenville, and so that's how it happened. Some members from the Greenville congregation would come on campus and so forth.
Okay, cool.
And so that was in 1982. It was 1 year after Michael was born.
Okay, well, that's neat. And you've been faithful with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, one of the things we'll learn too about her, I know we'll learn some history about her, but I'm just going to start asking her some questions. As a single mother, describe the role of your faith as it pertained to juggling the challenges that you had before you.
Well, I think faith means action, because we can talk all day and say, I have faith and so forth, but it's action, and we know that, God is there taking care of us. But you have to do something. You can't just say it and expect Him to do things for you. So I was talking to Melissa earlier today, and I was telling her that, my mom, she was a person that she worked hard. So I saw her working and the things that she did to try to take care of her family. And she had 12 children.
Wow, so, that's awesome.
So I think, and then once Mike was born, I really knew, because I was still in school, I was a sophomore.
Okay.
So I knew that I had to do something, and so just already being, well, I ain't gonna say I was already strong, because really it wasn't, because you know how it is when you're in school, you just kind of, and a sophomore at that, just the second year, you just kind of just, take it in your stride and so forth. But once he came along, I got serious about everything.
Right.
More serious about life and more serious about being a mom. And because really, I didn't know anything when I watched my mom, but really, you don't know until you actually have a child.
Right.
It's another person that you are responsible for.
Right.
So it's an action. You got to do something with it.
Right.
And, I obeyed, like I said, a year after he was born.
Okay.
So, it's like, okay, really, this is the church and this is what it's all about, and great support system. They're trying to help me.
Had you heard anything about the church before?
No.
Those people would come? Okay.
Never, ever, ever. In all my growing up years. Never.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And so they came and they talked to you, and you just had an open, good heart and wanted to obey.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What advice do you have for women who are single mothers and might say it's just too hard to be faithful to the church?
Don't give up, if you're trying, and if you really know that God is going to be there to help you. And plus, like I said, with the church, it's a good support system, And then with me, I was fortunate enough to have a good family. My mom was there, I was still in school, and he was born in May. So, I was able to finish that semester and still go back in the fall because his grandparents, his dad's parents were there, and I was able to stay with them. So just, don't give up. Nobody said it was going to be easy. That's the thing. And it's not easy. God didn't tell us life was going to be easy, and it's not.
Right.
So you just have to just keep going. Because like I said, I saw that in my mom.
Right.
She didn't give up, and she didn't give any of us away. And she expected. She was. Sometimes I thought she was harder on me.
What number were you in the 12?
10.
10, okay.
10. I had two brothers younger than me.
Okay.
But 10. And I think it seemed like she was hard on me, I guess, because she had the other girls,
Right.
you know, and she saw them, and then with me, I was always the one that did the best in school, and so I guess she was like, you know, okay.
She expects a lot out of you.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so that's the kind of person that I wanted to be. I learned a lot from.
Right.
You know, a whole lot.
I was watching something the other day, a lesson from a woman, and she said that you need to pick a woman that is a good role model for you.
Right.
And one of hers was her mom. And there's so many. I mean, I even look to you as a role model. You know, there's just so many good qualities about different Christian women, and that's one of the reasons we want to talk to you, because
and then
your attitude is so good about this.
And you know, even with my mom, there are so many things good things you learn from people, good things you want to do, and then there are other things that you say, I don't ever want to do that.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So, you know, she was a good lady. She tried.
What would you say the difference is between a faith lived versus a faith just spoken of? And I know you talked about that a little bit already.
Yeah.
So.
Because you can kind of say I have faith,
Right.
you know, but it's action. Because I think about Hebrews, you know, where it talks about all these people. You know, they didn't even live to see some of these things, but yet they did it. You know, God said do it, so they did it.
Right.
You know, so, you know, faith lived is you're actually acting on some things.
Right.
It's not like you're sitting back, when is this going to happen? You know.
Right. Right. Can a woman be happy if she is unmarried, and how?
Yep. I was sharing that with Melissa too, and I'm like, yeah, the same way a married woman can.
And that's a good answer, and I think women need to hear that, because there are mothers, and I know of mothers who almost think that they do, they want to give up, and I know the help that my husband gives me, and sometimes I think, how do you do it?
But actually, you know what? I was married for 8 years. Okay. You know, so Mike had a stepfather. Okay. And you know, obviously it didn't last. But it was, you know, due to several things. Okay. You know, we had differences and so forth in terms of not having things in common like we should have. Okay. You know, but I'm actually happier now, happier than when I was married. Right. Those 8 years, because there's a certain amount of, and I like my independence. You know. Yeah. So
that's where Mike gets it from.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Melissa was asking the same thing I said there. But yeah, I mean, and you have that freedom where you can go and do things. You can get out and do things for other people, you know. And it's okay to be married and have to answer to your husband, but you know, being single, you know, and Paul talks about that too, how the single woman came. Melissa and I were talking about these things today. But you know, but yes, I am happier than I've ever been. You know, like you said, my new grandbaby, and you know, Mike and Melissa are doing wonderful. You know, pretty soon can retire.
And that's
but yeah, I mean, single women can, you know. And it's not about money, you know, because, and actually I have more of that than I've ever had. I mean, when I was married, I mean, we were just, you know, paycheck to paycheck, you know, but it's just, it's all a matter of, I've learned, it really is, trusting God. If you read and study and you understand, it's trusting, and then everything just falls into place.
Was it, you know, when you and your husband divorced, was it, I mean, can you remember back thinking, this is, which I know you thought this, but I mean, this is going to be hard. I don't know if I can do this. Or were you bound and determined to make this work, and you had a good attitude from the beginning? Or was it a growth, process for you?
I think I had a good attitude in the beginning. It wasn't expected, of course. I didn't know he was going to leave, you know, because I wasn't leaving. Things were going wrong, but I wasn't going to leave. But it wasn't a growth. I think I just kind of I got to do, it's always been there. Like I said, it goes back to Mom. Yeah. I've got to do what I got to do, you know, because I wanted a better life than what I had with my mom and what she had, you know, so I think it's just a matter of I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to do, because income-wise, like I said, you know, some income went away, but my vehicle went away, you know,
Right.
but, you know.
Right. And I like what you said. I mean, that's so true. You got to do what you got to do, you know. And I think a lot of times people say, well, we know what the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
We know how we're supposed to live. We know what it says about this, but it's like we just don't want it. We just don't do it, you know. And sometimes it's just taking that action and the faith that you have and just saying, I know God's going to provide, and I'm going to do it.
And then
you know?
and I always looked at it too, you think you got it bad. If you get out and do something for somebody else or look at other people, I mean, you got it good.
That is just
really
great
have it good.
advice.
And it's the same thing with us growing up. With where I grew up, the way we grew up, I mean, Mom provided, we had food, we didn't have to worry about all that.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, it wasn't like the house that like I live in now or anything like that, but it was clean, you know, but we didn't have a whole bunch of toys. I mean, we were outside. I remember planting grass, you know, like a doll's hair.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, you know, and I think that's part of why I am who I am now, because of my background.
Right.
You know, and we tease Mike and we tell him he was spoiled. He said, I was not spoiled, you know. I say that to say he didn't have to worry about anything.
Right.
He had more things than I had.
Right. And I worry about that with our children. I mean, you know, growing up, my parents they lived, I mean, my mom didn't work, so, you know, we lived paycheck to paycheck, and I remember many times that Mom said, can't get it. You know, Dad's paycheck was not coming in until a certain date, and now I look at our children and I don't want to spoil them. You know, I don't want. And sometimes I want to make life difficult for them. Sometimes Sean says it's okay, you know, but sometimes I want to say, well, we grew up without that, or we grew up without that, and so I'm thankful that you said that.
And I kind of think that's what I did with Mike too. You know, I didn't give him things, and he'll tell you he's been working a long time. Yeah. Because I mean, tennis shoes and stuff like that. Right. You know, no, I'm not paying all this money for a pair of tennis shoes.
So you would make him work, and then he would go out.
Well, he actually he didn't have to work now.
Okay.
You know, but he wanted to work because and grandparents would give him money. Okay. You know, but I'm not. I have a budget.
Right,
and I can keep you supplied with tennis shoes, but they're not going to cost what you want. Yeah, and they're going to look good.
Right, which I think is great though, because I think it tends to, I know when I had to pay for something, even a pack of gum.
It does, yeah.
When, you know, Mom would say, okay, you know, where's the money? You want that pack of gum? And I would say, well, I don't really want that anymore, you know. So that's very good advice. What are some practical ways that a single mother can raise a son so that he receives the proper examples of male leadership and influence needed?
I think exposure to different kinds of people, because that's what I did with Mike. I mean, you can't shelter them.
Right.
You know, they got to see that that everybody is not going to be like me, you know, as conservative or whatever word you want to use and so forth, but exposure, so that they can kind of see, and in the end they'll make their own decisions about who's the best example and who I should follow. Right. You know, so exposure, and then being that example, being that true example. Right. And then get them involved in things too. You know, like he likes sports, so he was involved with sports and so forth. And being there, you know, for as many games as I could, you know.
Which that's important. You know?
And then, in that way, he had coaches and male coaches and things like that. And then, of course, church, you know, being involved with the things going on there. Right. So it's not like, okay, I'm sending you here to church, and I'm not going. Right. You know, so I need to be there too. Right. So, you know, so exposure, and then being involved with activities and so forth where you do see males in doing proper things or doing things that should be. Right. And then, you know, he could see other males and interacting with their dads and so forth. Which, you know, his dad's always been in his life too. Right. So, you know, there was that interaction.
Okay. Are there any attitude adjustments that you believe women of today ought to make in order to better their own lives and the lives of their children?
You're talking about women in general, right?
I think so.
That's a good
Pretty
question.
sure.
When I read that, I said that's a good question because, I mean, I work with, I work in an alternative school, so I see parents come in, and sometimes the attitudes are just so bad, and then you look and you say, okay, and now I understand why the child's behaving this way.
Right.
So for these women, my advice is, I mean, get over it.
It's funny, but it's true, you know.
Get over it. You know, get a job. Go look for a job.
Right.
You know, try to do something different. Don't sit back and think it's just gonna fall in your lap.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way for anybody.
Right.
You know, and listen. Be willing to listen and accept help. Not everybody's out to criticize you. You know, we're here to help you.
Right.
You know, so you'll know how to help your child.
Right.
You know, but I just you know, change the attitude of somebody owes me something.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you know, it's not, God didn't say I'm just going to give it to you just like that. You gotta work.
Right.
You gotta work. So they need to get over this. You know, somebody's got to give me something.
Right.
You know, get out and work. You know, and seek people who can help you do this.
Right. And I like how you said listen. I think that's for everybody. I mean, men and women.
Yes.
Sometimes people don't want to even, they want the help, but they don't want to listen. You know.
And then, you know, I was watching the show the other night, and it was a mom and a daughter. The mom was having problems with the daughter and vice versa because the daughter had, her life was just, you know, complete opposite from the brothers. And actually the mom, she called the brother mom's golden child. But, you know, the mom was asking this, the lady that she works for, her boss, because she was a housekeeper, and she was asking that the boss told her, you know, listen, you need to listen sometimes instead of just telling her this and telling her that about her life. Just stop and listen. And then on the TV, this TV show named Sitcom, and they did actually show something where the mom was listening to the daughter, and the mom told her some things about herself. You know, so the daughter did. Okay. And she was actually listening and taking it in.
Right.
You know?
And that means a lot to the daughter, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows that she cares. You know.
And then you do sometimes listen and say, but this person's got a point about me that I hadn't seen before.
Okay. Right.
You know.
Right.
And let me tell you something funny about that. I have a coworker. She's just crazy. She's funny. And she mimics people. You know, so she was mimicking some people one day, my coworkers. And I said, okay, do me. Show me what I do.
No.
And what did I do that for? Because she did. You know, and see, I'm the school's testing coordinator. And one morning, it was test day in the cafeteria. It was first testing day, first day. And I was trying to get stuff. It was already organized, but, you know, the principal and the people were never helping. So I was trying to get it done. And, but they weren't listening to me, you know.
Kids, they don't ever do that.
So finally I said, no, these were adults.
Oh.
They were adults. And so finally I just said, well, it went well before. And I just said, okay, fine. Y'all handle it. And I just walked away. I stalked away. And my coworker said, yeah, you just stalked away. Your hair just shaking. She said, I know you know how to done man. And I said, oh, really? I said, okay, I'm glad she told me. I said, because now you will not see that side of me anymore. So ever since then, you know, that always pops in my mind. I'm like, okay, remember, calm.
See, you have and that's something that you have a good attitude about, because a lot of women, and men for that matter, but I mean, we're speaking to women here, but, and I know me, I don't like to be told I'm wrong. I don't want to be told I'm wrong. And that puts my guard up. It makes me feel like, because I am striving to do what's right for God, so then it makes me feel like I've really disappointed them. And, but I have to tell myself and pray that if I am doing something wrong, I want to be told. Because I want to make it right, you know, but it is hard when someone tells you, like, well, you looked like this, or your attitude was this, and but you have a good attitude. And
then my coworker, and I'm thinking, well, I'm the Christian here, and I'm exhibiting that attitude? No. No way.
explain the role of the church as it pertained to being your spiritual family and support system, especially when Mike was growing up and things like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because they are. I can remember a time when I thought about this today when we were riding and Abigail was crying back there. One time I remember going. This was in Greenville, and he was just crying and crying, and I didn't know what was going on. One of the sisters came and she just took him from me, you know, and she just took him and she just took him with her and walked with him. He still continued to cry, but at least she saw that I needed help and she came and she got him. So they really are your support system, especially like in Greenville. I didn't have any family in Greenville, so they were my family, you know, and even in Goldsboro, I don't have family that lives in Goldsboro, you know, so I know that they are there and accept help too from them. If they are willing to give it to you, it's not like they're criticizing you or anything like that. They're there as a support system.
Right, and that's something I was going to ask you. When you had to do it on your own, when everything happened, did it take you a second to say, okay, I can accept help? Because not that the pride was maybe an issue, but that because you had that attitude of, I'm just going to do what I have to do, was it hard to accept help? Because seeing your mom work so hard and doing what she did.
Sometimes it's hard to accept help from my Christian family, yes. Yeah, it was, you know. And even with, my biological family, that's okay because Mom was there, and then, of course, Mike's grandma, you know. But yeah, from the Christian family, sometimes it is hard because I do feel like, well, I don't know if I feel like they were judging me or what, you know, which I know they weren't. I know that now. You know, but yeah, it's you know, it's like you don't have to do this.
Yeah, right. And that's when, like you said, I mean, it's awesome because the church is our family. You know. How can a mother continue to influence her children appropriately once they have become grown and are on their own? And that's one thing that when Mike would be doing class, he would say something that you would tell him, or he would say, "I'll call up my mom," and she would say something, you know, and I would just laugh and laugh because it was such good advice.
Yeah,
and
he's crazy.
and I could see, and I can see it in him, and the influence that you still have on him in a good way, in such a wonderful way. And so tell me how you're still able to influence your children and one day, I mean, already your grandchild.
All I do is try to listen, because if you know Mike is very, very opinionated anyway, you know, but I just listen. And then I just kind of remind him who he is. I just kind of say, well, you know who you are. You know, you're the Christian here. You know, and you know what God expects from you. That's basically all I have to say.
That's great advice. I need to write this stuff down.
I mean, really, you know, he knows.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you need a reminder.
And like I said, I just listen. That's all I can do.
That's good advice.
Because I don't like to, I don't say anything unless they ask me. He asks me something. You know, I generally just. If he brings something up, you know, then I'll tell him how I feel about it, you know, and he'll listen, and sometimes he'll say, well, that's good, thank you for that, you know.
That probably makes you feel good.
It does. You know.
And then also,
and he is, I don't know, kind of like me, and the more as we talk, he's like me a whole lot more than what I realize, you know, but, he doesn't like to take a whole lot from people either, you know, so it's kind of hard for him to take advice or anything from anybody. So. But basically, I mean, listen, and I'm there for them to support them in things that they're doing that are good things and right things. You know?
And then also just, I mean, thinking about just your example of how faithful you are to the church there at Goldsboro, and just you continuing that of your faith.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's not easy, you know. It's not easy, but you just got to keep going, because what's the alternative?
And what makes you say? I mean, what makes you say I got to keep going? Did you just keep saying that to yourself, or is it just I mean, what's your? I mean, obviously it's God, but what are you thinking about as far as when you say I just got to keep going? When it's hard, what do you do?
I mean, what's the alternative?
Right.
What's the alternative? And there really isn't. And I guess I just keep thinking back to, you wanted a better life than what your mom had. And I just thought about this too. I think she would be pleased with, well, all of her children's lives pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she'd be real pleased.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go back. You know, you can't just stop.
Right.
You know, because you know where you come from and you know how good God is.
Right.
You know, and if because I've thought about that. You know, because I think there are times when all of us, it's like, I don't want to go to service today. Well, I don't want to go to both services
Right.
today.
Right. I think
You
that
know?
happens to all of us. You're right.
Well, I don't want to teach this class anymore.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, I just talk to myself, really.
Yeah.
I just talk to myself. I'd be like, well, why don't you want to teach this class?
Right.
You know, you need to.
Right.
Not only is it, you know, are you going to be helping hopefully the people in the class,
Right.
but you're helping yourself too.
Right.
You're helping yourself to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, I just keep talking to myself.
Yeah.
If it gets hard, I just have to talk to myself.
Yeah.
You know?
We had a monthly ladies Bible study a week ago, I guess, and it talked a lot about just our thinking has got to change, and, and one of the questions was, how can talking to yourself be, good, basically was the question. And that is true. It's like just talking yourself through it can make you be more positive, or if you're talking out loud or to yourself and it's negative, then it can make you be negative too, so.
But hopefully, when you're talking to yourself, you look at both sides, look at it both ways.
Right.
And hopefully that positive will come out on top. Right. And again, it goes back to, you're not the only one. You're not the only one that's going through this, and then there's somebody going through something worse than you. Right. And it's hard to, you can't tell somebody, well, it's not that bad because you're not in their situation.
Right.
But again, you just listen to them and you just still just praise them and say, well, look at this, look at what you've done.
Right.
And then if it's somebody with children, you gotta tell them, and they gotta see that you've got a child here.
Right.
Right.
It's not just about you anymore.
Right.
It's about the child.
And that's it with Mike. Like I said, once he was born, that's
different.
it.
That's happened to my mom too. So she just thought, because she was faithful and raising a faithful Christian home, but then fell away. And then when she had Heather, she said, "This isn't about me anymore." It made her. It changes you in some way. And it makes you. And
then when there are times when, and none of us are perfect. I've made mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, those are the times where I do, when I think, well, why am I going to service? If you're going to do these crazy things, you're going to do these things when you know that this is not right. Why are you going?
Right.
That's when the talking to yourself comes about, when you just can't quit. You can't quit.
Right.
Because you're going to end up somewhere in the end where you don't want to be.
Right. What is the best way to handle the hard times, whether in the child's younger years or during the child's adolescent and adult life? And I know we touched on this a little bit, but I guess just
pray.
Awesome.
Pray. And that's just, pray, and then just get up, pick yourself up, and keep going. And again, accept help. Accept the help, because you don't have to do it by yourself. And I think that's what we forget sometimes. We're not by ourselves. You're not the only one going through it. And there's somebody in the church family that's always there to help you. You can always pick up that phone. There's somebody. I think all of us women need to have at least one person in the church that we know, without a doubt, that we can always call.
Right. And it takes a humbling, I guess, to say I can accept help and I need help.
And somewhere in here I wrote that down. I used that word humble.
It's a humbling thing to say I need help, But that's what's so great is that our Christian sisters, shouldn't be judging us, and
Right.
I know most of them are, and if they are, they don't have the right attitude, you know. But they're not here to judge us. They want to help, you know, but it's like accepting that help, you know, which is hard.
And that's the hard part.
Right.
That's the hard part, because, you know, it's, number one, sometimes pride does get in the way.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you gotta pull yourself up. You got to pull yourself up. And, you know, because like I said, the stuff that I've endured, it's nothing compared to, I would say, somebody that's lost a child, you know. And examples of women that lose children, you know, my sisters, and they just get up and they pull themselves up and they keep going.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And that's something too that I can look at too. I can look at people that have gone through all that, and I say, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Right, and that is helpful to see, you know, other people's examples. I don't want them to have ever gone through something like that, but you look to those women who have been through something like that, or are going through something like that, and I mean, there's so many times that I think, she has such a good attitude, and look at my attitude is so poor compared to hers, you know. And so I'm so thankful there are women out there that, and like you, who are willing to keep pushing forward and set an example for me, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying. I can tell you, it's, you know, you definitely, it's not easy. But like I said, you know, God didn't tell us it was going to be easy.
Right, exactly.
You know, but He said He's going to help us.
Right.
So we can do it.
Right.
We can do it.
This is the last question.
Stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Right.
That's the key.
Right. Right.
You know.
And this might be what you were wanting to say, but is there anything else you would like to say to encourage women to be servants of the Lord and mothers they ought to be? I know that's a big, broad question, but really anything that you'd like to say?
Just hang in there. Hang in there and know that they're not alone. I think that's the key. You're not by yourself. You know, that's probably not anything that a mother can go through. That somebody else has an experience, and it's different for everybody.
Right.
You know, everybody's not going to experience it in the same way, but just hang in there. You know, and just know that there's somebody that you can talk to, and you know, there's help. We're here for each other. You know, and we're not going to be judgmental. You know, sometimes it seems that way, but when you start talking to your sisters, you know, it's almost you probably have a tearful moment because, you know, we're not judging each other.
Right.
You know, the key is, I think we have to know each other.
And that is, like you said, it's the key. And that takes time and
It
effort
does.
to know
It
someone.
does. It does.
But you know what? That is how you're going to know what they need or how you can help. And I know we all live busy lives, but it shouldn't be that busy that we can't get to know our brothers and sisters. You know, priorities. You know, I guess.
Yeah, and see, and I wanted Michael to grow up. You know, I didn't want to fall away because I wanted him to grow up to be a fine young man, which he's on his way to becoming.
Well, I know we think a lot of them, and there are many people at Durham.
You know, so and he, you know, they were great. He looked to a lot of people in Goldsboro as examples. And he calls their names. I think there have been times when I've been here when he's done class. He's called some of their names, and I just sit back and I think, well, that is good. I'm glad that he was able to be around some of them and see them as the kind of men that he aspires to be.
Right, and that's wonderful that you kept going and took him to services. You know, so that's just wonderful.
And like I said, when I was married, you know, my husband did not go. You know. But we went.
That's awesome.
We went.
Yeah.
And so he saw that I didn't stop going.
Right. Well, I know you have answered all these questions, and I would put you on the spot, but
that's okay.
I'm so thankful for your example, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope you can watch the next interview we'll have next month. So thank you again.